Hello there, my name's Simon from CramTheExam and welcome to this video. This video is going to be a little bit different compared to all of the other videos, as this is the only video in this 12-week course in which I am going to talk about grammar. Okay, because I know a lot of you will be worried about grammar, particularly as regards writing and about speaking. So this video is about what I think you need to focus on in terms of your grammar, in terms of basic grammar, and in terms of what you might think of as advanced grammar, whatever that might be. So here we go. I can't stress enough the importance of making sure you know basic grammar and that you know how to use it well. So when I talk about basic grammar, I'm talking about things like simple form, continuous form, perfect continuous form, the past, the present and the future. I'm talking about the conditionals, the first, second, third conditional, zero conditional and mixed conditionals. I'm talking about the passive and the active voice. I'm talking about using things like relative clauses and relative pronouns. So these are all of the things that you should know, or the things that you will have learned in your English language development. And that takes you from when you started learning English all the way up until FCE level. That's the basics of the English language. And I'm sure that you know the structures very well. So I'm sure you know how to form the first conditional, the third conditional. You might know how to form the perfect continuous and so on and so on. But that's only half of the idea. The way to get the points is to understand why you're using what you're using. So what does the simple do? What does the continuous do? Why would you use the perfect and not the continuous? Why would you use the perfect continuous and not the perfect? And it's that understanding of the basics that's really going to set you apart and get you the high marks. Because if people are using the wrong forms in the wrong contexts, then this is going to stick out like a sore thumb, and it's going to suggest that your knowledge of basic grammar structures is not perhaps the best as it should be. Things like conditional forms. I'm sure you know the forms. I know you know how to create the third conditional, but why do you use the third conditional and not the second conditional? Why do you use the first conditional and not the second conditional? And so on, so on. And this is really understanding what the grammar is all about. So if you don't have that basic understanding of grammar, then it doesn't matter what you might know as advanced grammar, because the advanced grammar isn't going to help cover the mistakes that you've made with the basic grammar. So really make sure that you know your basic grammar well. Now, you might think that I need advanced grammar to show off my skills and to add variety. And to a certain extent, you're correct. But when you're doing your writing, let's just have a look at your writing. And when you plan your writing, not only are you going to think about the structure that you're going to write, but you're going to think about the range of range of grammar that you're going to use. And if you include everything that I've just said, which is a lot of things. So simple, continuous, perfect continuous, the past, the present, the future. You're looking at first, second, third conditional, zero conditional, mixed conditional, active voice, passive voice. That's already a huge range of grammar in your answer. Even if you include things like direct speech, indirect speech, and so on, that's even more basic grammar that you're including. And that's a huge range of grammar skills. That's even before you have a look at the advanced stuff. So make sure you got the basics correct. The advanced stuff. Now, the advanced stuff isn't going to help you unless you know the advanced stuff well. Simple as that. And I just want to say something about the advanced stuff. Many people study the English language and they get to upper intermediate level, B2, FCE level, and they think, okay, now I've done the basics, now we're going to get onto the really sexy grammar, the hard grammar, the grammar that's going to score me the most amount of points. Well, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. The bad news is that there isn't that much advanced grammar for you to study. Sure, if you get to the CAE books and have a look at the grammar in the CAE, you're going to find things like substitution, ellipsis, and so on. But the good news is that you know most of this stuff already. As a matter of fact, you probably use this without knowing what it is that you're using. So all you're doing when you're studying advanced grammar is you're actually putting a name to the things that you're already using. For example, substitution is something that you already know. So substitution, instead of saying the boy, you say the boy, he, his, and you come up with different ways of saying the boy. Well, that's what substitution is. People get excited about inversion and you trying to use inversion in their writing. Okay, inversion has a place, but inversion is used for emphasis. So you've got to use inversion correctly, and you've got to learn the correct forms of inversion, because each form of inversion has a slightly different grammatical approach. So not only do you have to get the basics right, you've got to make sure that you get the rules for the advanced stuff right as well, because if you get that wrong, then it really will mess up your message to whoever's either reading or listening to your answer. And of course, that's going to cost you in your exam. But saying that, there are perhaps some advanced pieces of grammar, some sexy grammar that you should know. And the good news is, more good news, is I've put all of those things in one place. Okay, over my shoulder you can see my YouTube page for CramTheExam. If you haven't visited, there's a link in the video description below, and be sure to subscribe to keep up to date with all of the content that I produce. Okay, plug over. The reason why I brought you here is because I want you to go to playlists, and in the middle you'll see a playlist. You'll see the cursor here. It says grammar you need to know. So if we click on view full playlist, this is all of the advanced grammar or sexy grammar that might help you out, get you those few extra marks in your writing or in your speaking. If I go through them now, the first video is on cleft sentences, then you've got inversions, conjunctions and subordinate conjunctions, substitution, relative pronouns and clauses, conditionals, reduced relative clauses, discourse markers, Britishisms, and you can't see it, but at the bottom is abstract and concrete nouns. Now these sound all really technical and a little bit scary, but you already know what these things are. Cleft sentences are just a form of sentence structure, and you'll see this a lot when you do the open-close question for the use of English paper. Very, very often you'll see this structure used, and you'll have to fill in the part of the cleft sentence. Inversions, we use them for emphasis, and you get taught them at B2, C1 level. Conjunctions and subordinate conjunctions, and down here discourse markers, you know what these things are already. You use them already. These are just the names of what these things are, and an explanation of what they are in a little bit more detail. Substitution, easy peasy. This is just where you avoid saying the same thing over and over again. So instead of saying the boy, you say the boy, he, his, and you come up with lots of different ways of referring to the boy. Standard stuff, you know this already. Conditionals, I go into some detail about how I teach conditionals and the best way to approach conditionals so you don't get them wrong. Reduced relative clauses, Britishisms, you'll see this at the bottom. It is nice to throw in some what you might consider native language, whether it's a Britishism or an Americanism. It adds a little bit of colour or a little bit of life to your writing or your speaking, and it will be picked up by the examiner as well. So I recommend that you throw in one or two little Britishisms or Americanisms, and at the bottom a little discussion about abstract and concrete nouns and the basics that you have to know. Now, the good thing about all of these videos is that when you open one of them up in the playlist, in the video description for those videos, you'll see links to external websites which explain those grammar points in much more detail. I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. There are fantastic resources out there. Go ahead and use them. And of course, there are always your course books with the grammar section in the back of the course books, and books dedicated to grammar as well. And let's not forget about Google. If there's something you want to know, Google is a fantastic resource. Just throw in, for example, cleft sentences into Google, and you're going to find pages and pages and pages of resources explaining what they are and giving you a chance to practice them. So you can see that there are only what I would consider 10 areas of advanced grammar, or even 9 areas of grammar and 1 area of vocabulary, and that's it. So there's no magic advanced grammar that you need to know, no huge area of grammar which you haven't covered. It's knowing the basics exceptionally well, and just knowing a few extra little points in order to help you get a few marks. But as I said at the beginning, if you can't use them properly and you make mistakes with them, they're going to end up costing you more points than when you use them. So that's the preparation on your side to make sure that you can use them well, you understand them, and that when you use them perfectly and appropriately. And so that's all there is to it. At the cost of repeating myself again, the most important thing is to make sure that you know the basics well. And then once you know the basics well, then start thinking about those 10 areas which I've highlighted on my playlist. The basics are enough as long as you use them well. There's a huge range of grammar in those basic areas of grammar. A huge range. If you manage to get all of them into one piece of writing, well, to be honest, well done to you. The advanced grammar areas are really, really good to know from the point of view of knowledge, and they'll help you in the use of English paper. But you don't have to cram all of those 10 areas into a writing. For a start, you don't have that many words to do all of that, and you certainly don't want to waste time thinking about how you can squeeze all of those grammar areas into your plan and then into your writing. So try to approach grammar with a little bit of common sense. Understand that if you include 10 to 15, and even that's a lot, of pieces of grammar in your writing, that's a wide range of grammar. You don't need to go crazy and include all of these 10 areas, advanced areas of grammar in your writing or in your speaking. For a start, if you do, it's going to sound pretty funny, and it's not going to sound natural, and it's going to cost you some marks. So you just got to get that balance right between getting the basics right and using a little bit of flair which comes with the advanced grammar. If you've got any questions at all about this video, or any of the advanced pieces of grammar, or indeed any of the basic pieces of grammar that you should include in your writing or your speaking, leave a comment in the comment section below and I will get back to you. Okie dokie, enjoy the rest of the course, and I'll see you again soon.